Hi, welcome back to Storytime with Gigi. Today we're going to be reading Chapter 3 from the 10 Commandments movie Storybook. Today's chapter is called Moses Returns to Egypt. Flickering torch held high, Moses led his donkey through vast foothills leading back towards Egypt. It was like walking through a maze. A voice whispered, "Moses, is that you?" Aaron stepped out of the shadows, grinning. The two brothers embraced. Aaron told Moses that in a dream, he heard God tell him to meet Moses here. "That wasn't a dream," Moses replied. God had a mission for them both. "We go to Pharaoh?" Aaron asked. Moses nodded. Aaron was not very happy. Egypt had a new Pharaoh now. Ramses was the new ruler of Egypt. The brothers entered the town of Goshen and headed for a particular hut. The door swung open, and there stood Moses' sister Miriam. "Welcome back, baby brother," she exclaimed. "It's good to finally be home," Moses smiled. He stared past her. The hut was crowded with older men. Miriam laughed. "The elders all want to hear what God has told you." Moses rolled his eyes as Miriam led him forward. Moses hated to speak before crowds, even little ones. The following morning, Moses and Aaron stood anxiously before the royal palace. Moses, holding his staff, requested an audience with Ramses. The royal guards pointed their spears at the brothers. "Pharaoh doesn't see Hebrews," one guard sneered. At that point, Ramses galloped up in his hunting chariot, surrounded by guards. Ramses thought it might be amusing to hear what Moses had to say. He brushed Moses and Aaron aside and said to his guards, "Let them both wait until all the incense in the palace has been lit. It will cover their stench." Later in the royal palace, Ramses sat at his towering throne. A half-dozen royal ministers and 4 court magicians, all holding golden staffs, stood behind him. Leaning against Ramses' throne was his 8-year-old son. Ramses listened to Moses' tale and frowned. His son, seeing his father's anger, frowned as well. Moses finished his speech by stating, "And as was told to me, the Lord God of Israel says, 'Let my people go.'" Ramses' face grew red. "You expect me to just let the Hebrews leave? Just like that? Because a God I do not know, have never heard of, or wants me to? You've been in the desert too long. Look at you, with your old robe and your splintered staff. You are pathetic in my eyes. But then, you've always been pathetic. A murderer, a coward, a fraud. As for your Lord God?" Ramses leaned forward. "Pharaoh is the God of Egypt. There is no other." Moses stood silently. He remembered what God had told him on the mountain. He raised his staff. "Behold the power of the Lord God," and he threw down his staff on the floor. The staff became a gigantic snake. Ramses' son was afraid. Ramses laughed, patting his son's head. "It's just a trick, my son. Watch and see." Ramses snapped his fingers, and his magicians stepped forward and threw their golden staffs upon the floor. The magicians' golden staffs turned into snakes as well. Ramses laughed at Moses. "Even my magicians can outdo your so-called God," he sneered. Moses smiled at Ramses, not bothering to look at the floor. The magicians gasped as Ramses' mouth dropped open. Ramses' son held on tight to his father. On the floor, Moses' serpent lashed out at the magician's snakes. It ate them one by one. Moses stepped forward and grabbed his serpent by the tail. It transformed itself back into a shepherd's staff. Angry, Ramses jumped out of his throne and ran up to Moses. Moses was not afraid. "Hear me, Ramses," Moses said. "The Lord God has commanded it. Let my people go." Ramses clenched his teeth. "Tell your God that Pharaoh will not release his slaves. They barely work as it is. Tell your God that I will increase their work. I will no longer give them straw to make bricks. They must find their own straw, and if they don't make enough bricks, they will die by day's end. Tell your God that, Moses." My goodness, it seems like things are worse. Pharaoh's orders traveled quickly. Heavily armed taskmasters whipped the Hebrew slaves as the tired men pulled wagons, only half filled with bricks. The whips cracked. The slaves moaned. "Anyone who doesn't make enough bricks dies at sundown," yelled one taskmaster. "More bricks! More bricks!" Moses and Aaron were saddened by the sight. A group of angry slaves, led by one of Pharaoh's spies, ran up to the brothers. The spy, a Hebrew named Dathan, shoved a finger in Moses' chest. "Are you happy now? They're working us to death." "Maybe you didn't hear God correctly," Dathan explained. "Maybe you got it all wrong. Go tell Pharaoh you made a mistake. Apologize now." And that was chapter 3. I hope you liked it. Make sure that you like and subscribe and share with your friends. And come back for chapter 4. Bye until next time.